How about some of those false prophets? Now, there's a lot of people who are saying that Pope Francis is a false prophet. That may be true based off of several of his teachings, which constantly is in the media. Here's another false prophet that we found that decided to introduce himself to the Ecumenical Order of Christ. He claims that he is the only mediator between God and men today. That's funny because that also goes against the Bible too, where many of God's followers will have dreams and visions, not just one. And there's not going to be any one particular mediator. So we obviously know that the information being provided is incorrect. So, besides him, Pope Francis, there are several other false prophets, and we know there are a lot of them out there. They've really exposed themselves. How about false messiahs, though? Well, here we've got several Jesus. We've got Jesus and Mary Magdalene reincarnated. They're from Australia. We also have another Jesus from America. We also have a Rael who is in charge of the Raelians. And basically, if you are not Raelian, he will not talk to you, based off what I've seen. And, I also basically took some of these other messiahs, or self-proclaimed messiahs, and I have this nice big list of, at least probably about a good 50 self-proclaimed messiahs, some of them in existence today. So anybody who would like to argue that the false messiahs and false prophets haven't already happened, it's happened. Now, most people say that, they end up having a dream, and then they're Jesus. Honest, why have I not had this dream yet? Oh well. Well, take a look at this video.
Throughout the Bible, prophets, angels, and Jesus himself all promised that the Son of God would return to create heaven on earth. And throughout the ages, billions of Christians have wondered, when? But what if the second coming is here, now? There are a number of would-be messiahs who claim exactly that, and few are more physically convincing than a former Russian traffic cop named Sergei Torop. In the woods of rural Siberia, he is known as Vissarion, the teacher, and around 5,000 disciples live around him, growing their own food and feasting on his every word.
My whole body was trembling. The trembling is not coming again. Well, it's very emotional to me.
Meanwhile, in London, David Shaler says he is the true Lord of Lords, but unlike Vissarion, no one believes him.
That doesn't bother me because I was chosen by God.
The former British intelligence agent says his body was filled with the Spirit of Jesus in 2007, a conviction which intensifies on a visit to Jerusalem.
We're in the Church Holy Sepulchre, and this behind me is supposed to be the tomb of Christ. Well, I'm Christ, and I'm not in the tomb, I'm not dead yet.
But with no support, he lives in a squatter's camp outside London.
My agreement with Jesus, I don't ask for money off people. If you're the Messiah, you shouldn't be asking for money, you should have faith that God will look after you.
Prove to me that you are a son of God!
But that is not a sentiment shared by Pastor Apollo Quibeloi, the most successful of the world's self-labeled saviors.
The official coming of the Son of God was in April 13, 2005.
He was an obscure evangelist from the rural Philippines until 2005, when he announced that God had appointed him Christ on earth. His reward for a pure life.
Sinful thoughts, anger, lust, any of those things, you don't experience those on a daily basis?
As a human being?
Yes.
I have already overcome all of those.
There is no apocalypse in Quibeloi's message, no rapture or final judgment. Instead, he preaches that he is the model of Christianity, and as more people follow his example, God will gradually turn the earth back into the Garden of Eden.
Do you perform miracles?
For me, the greatest miracle is the changing of that spirit within.
But healing the sick, the manifestations of Jesus' powers, you're able to do that?
We have healing.
You are
healing and miracles happening.
After taking his place as the appointed son, Quibeloi's ministry has exploded. He claims to reach 6 million followers with his satellite TV network, numerous publications, private jet, and personal helicopter. All the better to avoid the bumpy road and impoverished villages that lead to the walled compound he calls the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Here is his 5-bedroom home, surrounded by manicured gardens of imported grass.
So this is your Garden of Eden.
This is what we call the Garden of Eden restored.
It's easy to see why this claim resonates in a country where 30 million endure crushing poverty with open hearts. This family lives just down the hill, next to the dump where Pastor Kibeloy's garbage is burned.
If you could be anything in the world, what would you want to be? Go to heaven.
To them, heaven really could exist inside Kibeloy's gates, and it's why hundreds line up to carry his parasol. All the workers who toil in the grinding heat of the kingdom are volunteers, here to glorify the Father.
Do you get paid for this?
Juju tells me he gets $40 a week to feed his family. Minimum wage. And like the rest of the kingdom, he's expected to give 10% back to Kibeloy.
This may be the most beautiful spot in the Philippines, and it's paid for by people who live on $2 a day. So how do you justify your lifestyle? I mean, your watch could probably feed 100 families for a month.
If it's not God's will for me to have these things I have, you can take it away. It is God's will that we follow. If it is God's will for us to live like this, you know, you can have a broken heart looking at me, but what can you do?
But they get their understanding of the will of God from you.
Yeah.
And this nice young man wouldn't be holding this umbrella if he didn't believe the things you say.
For us here, we see everything as a ministry. My talent is to preach. My talent is to be a leader. Not everyone can become a preacher or have been given a talent like me to go and lead the 6 million people.
Right. But Jesus, when he walked the earth, according to the Bible, lived among lepers and prostitutes.
I live among them.
You have a private jet.
I live among them. Before I had the private jet.
You're in a walled compound with mansions.
Before this, I lived among these people. Like, for example, that jet that you're talking about. Do you know that in 1983, I had a revelation of that jet? That the Lord is going to give me that.
Yeah?
It is Him who gave me that. If it is not His will, how can I afford that?
Well...
Kibeloy has been accused of kidnapping and brainwashing by the parents of at least one of his followers, but he was never charged. He insists that anyone is free to leave his flock and seal their fate for eternity.
Will they go to hell?
It's up to them. They know that. So that's your will, you know. If you want to go to hell, no one will stop you. If you want to go to heaven and follow this way, no one will stop you too.
Come work with you.
Yeah.
There are 3 possibilities here. You are either the Son of God, or you're delusional, or you're a very successful con man.
I respect your point of view. But I resent what you said, that your followers will say, I'm a con man with a speaking ability that I've tried to con people. That is not who I am. I'm not trying to con people. I am speaking the truth.
Skepticism is a cross all modern messiahs must bear. In Siberia, Vissarion has also been accused of mind control, but there's not enough evidence to try him. And David Shaler? Well, there are fewer legal headaches for prophets without followers, but still plenty of moments to bring a so-called Son of God back to earth.
Do you think you're Jesus?
Sorry?
Are you Jesus?
I am Jesus, yes.
No, you're not.
I'm Bill Weir for Nightline in Davao, Philippines.
Can we have some quiet?
No shortage of skeptics, no shortage of believers. The Second Coming premieres next Wednesday on the National Geographic Channel.
He enters this hotel conference room in Hartford, Connecticut with a security team that rivals a head of state. An adoring audience greets him with calls of daddy and sings his praises. He is 60-year-old Jose Luis de Jesus Miranda from Puerto Rico, a preacher, an evangelist to be sure, but to his followers and in his own eyes, he's more than a man of God. Just ask him.
I'm Jesus Christ's man in front of you.
That's right. He says he is the second coming. He claims in 1973 he had an epiphany.
When Jesus, the resurrected Jesus, came to me, he integrated himself within me.
So why you?
I don't know.
In the mid-'80s, Miranda started his own ministry called Creciendo en Gracia, or Growing in Grace. It's a religious movement that claims a presence in more than 20 countries, mostly in Central and South America, but also in the United States. From Hartford to his headquarters in Miami, he says there are more than 30 teaching centers nationwide.
We don't give membership cards. So I don't know how many I have, but certainly are millions. Every week we grow.
And with a 24-hour cable channel, netcasts of his sermons and radio programs, Miranda is out to spread the word. Those who believe him, like these followers in Miami, the Son of Man is back, also embrace his unique interpretation of the Bible. For example, sin no longer exists.
God doesn't see you as a sinner. For me, you are a perfect spirit.
There's also no such thing as the devil.
Satan is a Hollywood character.
As for prayer, he says it's a waste of time, and he calls all other religious leaders liars.
The lies began in Rome. I'm against all those teachings from Catholic, Protestant, evangelicals. They're not teaching the right gospel.
His followers say Miranda is the only one telling the truth, and that his teachings have set them free.
I thank him so much for being able to look myself in the mirror and knowing that I'm seeing him in me and that I could literally love myself.
But one common church practice that Miranda doesn't dismiss is the use of the collection plate.
Do people have to pay to be part of this?
No.
They do have to donate.
They make donations according to the Bible, the tithing.
The Bible asks for 10% tithing.
Yeah.
But your followers do much more than that.
Because of the...
They give their companies, they give their...
Oh, they give everything.
His most generous followers have even given him cars and estates, including a home inside this gated community, which Miranda recently sold for close to $1 million.
So you don't have a problem with material wealth?
Everybody should be rich.
One who is giving his share of riches to Miranda is Alvaro Albarracin, a successful web entrepreneur. He says he owes everything to Miranda, and his donations have topped 7 figures.
I'm putting all my money and heart that this is the truth.
But Albarracin's relationship with Miranda has cost him personally. He's estranged from his family.
How many years has it been since you've spoken with him?
4.
Regina Albarracin says her son severed ties after they suggested he was being brainwashed by Miranda and his teachings.
It's not healthy for people. It's not good for people. It's not good for families. Many families, he destroyed many families.
Other religious leaders say Miranda may be capable of destroying much more.
I think any group whose leader says, I am God, and you have to listen to me and follow me because I am God, that group is very dangerous for our society.
Father Albert Coutier says he and members of his congregation in Miami have been harassed by Miranda's followers.
Well, I think that their tactics are strange. And what I've experienced personally is aggression, screaming.
In fact, Growing in Grace admits it has launched a protest campaign against other religions, like this peaceful one in Miami. But other gatherings have become more confrontational.
Is there any limit to what your followers will do for you?
Well, we try to do it very politely. Something might get out of hand once in a while because, some people, they fight back.
Do you encourage that, though?
I encourage to march for the truth.
All this has led some to worry that Growing in Grace may be a new cult.
Growing in Grace does appear to fit the primary criteria of a destructive cult. An absolute authoritarian leader, a process of persuasion that can be seen as brainwashing, and then finally, exploitation of the members.
If it's a cult, it's the best cult I ever seen.
This is a nice cult. I'm proud to lead a cult like this because I'm teaching the truth.
Wow, we're saved. Thank goodness. I'm sure with all my other money he'll buy more mansions. Let's talk about Christ's name. First off, Jesus is approximately 400-year-old name. The letter J is approximately 500 years old. So a 400-year-old name with a 500-year-old letter for a 2,000-year-old man. Sure, fair enough. Got it. I guess I could believe that. Makes sense? Not really. In the end of days, though, here's the thing. Revelations 19:12, and it goes into 13, verse 13. It states, he had a name written that no one knew but he himself. And the name means Word of God. So it hints at his name, but we don't know what his name is. No one will know until he presents himself. Isn't that interesting? So all these people who are coming out and saying, hey, I'm Jesus. Well, guess what? It's going to be a name that nobody knew. And everybody knows Jesus. Well, almost everybody. So it can't be a name that we're familiar with. Now, going even further into Christ, and his arrival, what are we to expect? Well, it states that he comes as a thief in the night. Or it comes like a thief in the night. It states that when the Holy Spirit arrives, it will appear, it'll have a flash as light, like lightning, which will occur over where Christ ascended, and will travel from the west to the east. Now, here's the thing. Even then, when all this happens, not everyone's going to be aware that Christ is here. It says that unless he's accepted, he will hide his face. In addition, in the book of Ezekiel, it actually states that there's going to be a huge chastisement of sorts. And then the nations will know that he is the Lord. So even then, people still don't know don't recognize him as being the Lord. So that should bring up a lot of questions about his return. Everybody sees his return as being the skies are going to open up and here he comes. Obviously, a thief in the night isn't going to do that. The sky's not going to open as everybody thinks it will.